All right, everybody, welcome to the Leadership Mastermind podcast. I am your host, Mitch Peak, and this is my amazing co-host, Miss Laura Brandeo.
Hello, Mitch. I'm so excited for our guest today, and I want to introduce everyone to Eddy Perez. He is the president and CEO of EPM, Equity Prime Mortgage, which is based in Atlanta, Georgia, where he oversees operations, sales, revenue, marketing, compliance, and technology. Oh, my goodness. As co-founder of Equity Prime, he was recognized as Inc. 5000, and he has excelled within the mortgage industry, being named one of the nation's top mortgage bankers, recognized in NMP's 40 most influential mortgage professionals under 40. Throughout his distinguished career, he has held multiple executive positions, and prior to co-founding EPM, in 2008, he operated the top producing office for Global Mortgage. He holds the prestigious CMB designation, which he earned in October 2014. He is also you're not the current chairman of MORPAC. That was actually, there you go. Okay.
It ends on Friday. Well, it ends, I guess, at midnight tomorrow, like the new.
So there you go. And a panelist for MBA's Future Leaders Program, holds a seat on the board of directors for the MBA, and now co-chair of the MBA Affordable Housing Council. And on the Leadership Mastermind podcast, we want to provide our audience with insights and perspectives from our industry experts so you can learn, grow, and be inspired to be a leader to your clients and your teams. Okay, Mitch, let's get started.
All right, Eddy, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
I want to get things started, for our audience pretty quickly here. So please tell me, what are the top 3 key pillars to leadership for you?
First off, you got to start off with emotional intelligence. You have to understand when you're a leader, you're not really at the top. I mean, I know figuratively you are, but it's really from the bottom and you got to lead people up. So emotional intelligence is extremely important on how to lead people. Second one, I think this is a real important one. I think you got to keep things fun as a leader. You got to introduce, in a good way, competitiveness, but keeping things fun. There's a lot that we do for people in this industry. There's a lot of stresses, but if you're miserable, you're just not going to perform. And then the third one, I think, is always maximum preparation, regardless if you're going to speak, whatever you're going to go present. I think being very intentional, and that's what I mean by preparation, is very crucial. It's okay to have questions lined up, what your thoughts are, anything that you're doing, because the best way to perform is to have your preparation at its highest level.
Totally agree. Okay, so now let's dive into those 3, okay, so that we can go a little bit deeper. So, Eddy, what have you learned in terms of emotional intelligence? And I totally agree. I mean, at the end of the day, people are not numbers. People are not statistics. People are not, how many families we brought home, even though that's extremely important. There's more going down to the core of that. So what have you learned in your career of how to really connect with your team and with your clients to utilizing emotional intelligence?
I mean, I think the greatest, emotional intelligence can break down to many categories, but I think if you really lead with empathy, that is, and that obviously gives you perspective. Perspective really is what I would say, empathy meets knowledge, even meets preparation. Empathy is a thing where you can put yourself in their shoes, understand, relate, really be pragmatic. I would say that that's probably the best way to really lead emotional intelligence. And the best way on top of that is also to have an emotional intelligence about yourself. Enlightenment's knowing yourself, wisdom's knowing others. A lot of people talk about wisdom, but you need to know what even activates you or what doesn't activate you, and understand just because that does it to you, it doesn't mean it to them. But really getting to know the person at the core, being interested in them versus interesting as a leader. Like I say, leading from that bottom up mentality, I think is really the crucial part on it. And that's where you can be relatable. That's where even tough conversations or what has to get done can be done in a fashion that is not viewed as hostile, or more importantly, can express the urgency behind it without having to use any sort of fear tactic.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And it's very interesting as you were speaking and you spoke about enlightening. Okay. You are correct. I was going through my brain of the difference between a manager and a leader. Okay. Because you're not managing people. When you truly know yourself, you are there as a servant leader looking out for your people. And therefore, your people will follow suit because they trust you and they respect you and they want to be there for you for whatever the mission and vision is that you are putting before them. So you are correct. And that's very, very, very key to this is that it starts with you.
You got to know yourself. And really your job as a leader is to unleash the potential in them. And the only way to do that is you got to ask a lot of pointed questions, not just say, tell me a little bit about yourself. What are your passions? What are your joys? Where do you see yourself? If you could draw a dream, because a lot of times they'll give you the answers, how to even lead them, even how to hold them, accountable without having to use the word accountable. Like, okay, here are your goals. We've made this agreement. I'm here to unleash the best in you. And some people's best is different than others. Some people may say, hey, look, I only want to get to this level, or I want to get to there. That's fine. You at least then know the expectation, and then you can ask in return how they want to get it done.
Exactly.
What is the first thing you see in an individual that works for you that you think, okay, this person has leadership inside of them? What do you see when what light goes off that says, oh, this
It's
person
not really I would tell you it's not even a see, it's a hear. I think you got to listen extremely well. I think one of the greatest things as a leader is to be an exceptional listener. And the only way, once again, to do that is to be interested and to ask questions. People will give out, as I say, their personality, their intentions, good or bad. I actually say if you're a phenomenal leader, it's how you can, call BS early and often, it's because you listen well. But I would tell you it's not a see, it's a hear, because as I've said before, talk is cheap, hypocrisy is expensive. But if you listen and not just, okay, I understand, sure, great. I'm talking about, tell me what drives you, tell me what motivates you, what do you like here? You'll get to see it, and you'll also see it through action. So I would tell you it's more of something you could do if you were blind, because you could just hear it.
Yeah, and I agree, but again, it goes back to you have to care. It starts with that empathy, and it starts with actually wanting that person to perform their best, whatever that best is. Because you are correct, Eddy. Not everyone wants to be a leader. Not everyone wants to be an executive. And that's perfectly okay. Perfectly fine. Whatever piece of the puzzle they fit within the team, it's vital, it's important, and we appreciate everything that they do. But you're right. It starts with caring about that team and then listening. And for all of us, I can speak for Eddy and myself, especially as you start to get to an executive level, it's extremely important that you continue to listen, because a lot of times when you keep going up, everybody wants you to talk, but you actually are your best when you stop and you listen. All right, Mitch, I want you to tackle fun. Let's have the fun conversation. Go ahead. What do we do with fun? Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I like this. So, I grew up and, my whole life in sales. So this is what I like this portion of what you said, because,
I did too, by the way. I did.
What's that?
I was an originator. I did.
So you understand. So the fun aspect and the competition aspect is what I enjoyed most about sales. All my years doing it. So tell us a little bit about what you do to keep your team motivated and keep it fun, within the office.
I mean, I've always said the best way to be fun is to be you. Some people's fun is not another person's fun. Like I say, when we've talked about enlightenment, have studied myself a good amount just to know, was I crazy on this? What was going on here? But Probably at no surprise, I took the Big Five personality test. I scored the highest on extroversion. No surprise there. So, mine's a little different. I have a megaphone in the office. Actually, it's right here. I walk around. I'll joke with people. I'll talk on it. It's been spread out. But I think it's really just a healthy level of competition, and because that also allows you to appreciate and recognize it. And you just don't have to do it for sales. That's a mistake that I made early in my career, because why would operations people want to do this? Well, that's just silly. So it's really about, we have a monthly awards ceremony. It recognizes all facets, all departments, what they did. We post the numbers, we show who they did. We're probably going to be showing that more online in the future. In the past, we didn't. We kept it just in-house, but I think we're going to start celebrating the people, because that's one of the things that they requested. Because we do a engagement survey of behaviors of the individuals. And that was one of the things that was very doubled down on. When you see the areas you can fix, that's great. But when you see the areas that you're doing well, you should double down on those, because that's doubling down on your strengths. I think you just got to always know that, there's more to life than yourself. I understand that you got to take care of things and take care of your family, but if you're miserable, why be here? Why be in this industry, especially an industry that represents the real estate and its functions, which is 25% of the United States economy. We put people in homes. It's been shown that when somebody's a homeowner, domestic violence, drug abuse, a lot of these awful things and mental health decrease. So we are improving people's lives. That's why it's not really like a battle cry, but a statement. I always believe lives, not loans. And I think you got to know that, playing sports is fun. So you got to bring that same energy that, you have to train. You have to grind, but that's what allows it to be fun. And that's what allows it to be that moment. So you just got to know that you can joke with each other. There's lines there, but there's healthy competition, but it should not be a competition of I'm going to tear that person down. You should cheer that person on. I'm not going to sit here and say that people won't try to do that, but that's your job as leadership, to not let that type of behavior be allowable. Not saying it won't happen, but like anything else in life, you got to hit it straight on.
One thing I noticed about, your business is the colors, and I love that, because you bring your colors of, your company to the office. So it's, from what I can see, from the videos you've done, stuff like that, I mean, it's bright, it's fun, it's energetic. And I think that probably helps, right from the beginning, and rather coming into a, gray carpet, gray walls.
We
gray
did that already.
tables,
We learned that one. We did that when we did the new build. It's just, I think in today's environment, you got to shine a light on things. And I think that's a very powerful way. And there'll be another video that comes out, because, we've done the modification we've built a gym inside of the office. We've built a training center now. We've definitely done some more modifications. But I think colors are very important, because to your point, it's not something we think about, but and that's one of the great things about the younger generation. They open up your eyes to different ideas. And they said, hey, you're coming into a hospital. I'm like, what are you talking about? We have this nice space. They're like, it looks like a hospital. And I'm like, it really kind of does, unfortunately. So, a lot of that ideas came, what was presented, and, our head of marketing was brilliant in the design and really putting the finishing touches on all that.
Well, if you think back on it, even with my kids as they age, my kids have bright, fun, what color room you want, that's what color room you get. But as we get older, we got a gray room, a beige room, everything gets toned down a little bit. So, and being in sales, being in a cubicle, that's the way it always was for me. Everything was gray. It was depressing.
Gray or tan, off-white, that's what it is. I mean, that's just, there's no real energy. I'm always trying to get more energy, and and my job as a leader, as CEO and president, there's three things I'm responsible for: the vision, the culture, and the results. I believe you'll get the results if your vision and culture are in line. You got to really always, just like always working to improve yourself daily, just a little bit, you've got to always be fine-tuning that. That's just like a high-performance car. You cannot just rely on it. There's a reason why these high-performance cars, these racers, they're always turning the needle, looking at it, putting in a new engine. It's just what you have to do.
You have to get 1% better every day.
Yep.
That's it. So obviously culture is extremely important. So you mentioned that you have engagement surveys or that type of thing. What do you do to actually ensure that your culture is constantly moving and positive in the right direction?
I mean, there's different people that have certain responsibilities. We have a promotions manager here. We hired an outside firm that allowed us to build our 23 behavioral drivers, because most things in culture are not just core values. Core values are important, but they're derived from, you can derive a certain amount of behaviors to equal your core values. So we've identified the drivers. We give it to people when they interview. We heavily promote. It's an anonymous survey too, that engages the surveys and really what's going on. And then we talk about it. You know, one of the big things that allowed us to do during COVID was at first to calm people down. As a leader, they needed to see me more often and speak. So we started a tradition on Fridays to kind of what evolved into a town hall, and now it's evolved into a speaker series of great leaders and ideas they have and different subjects. And I mean, we've even tackled, you know, social issues to personal, you know, mental health. I think one of the greatest travesties that have happened through here is there's probably 100 million to 150 million people worldwide that are dead. They just won't die for the next 10, 20, 50 years, but their mental health has been shot. And as a leader, you know, I believe, you know, I'm not really in the mortgage business, not even really in the real estate business. That's just the vehicle that makes it possible. I really believe that we're in the personal development business that happens to do it through mortgages. So the more that you focus on personal development, that's a biggest component of the culture, the more everybody, because if you make somebody a better husband, a better father, a better wife, a better sister, a better aunt, a better uncle, a better brother, sister, whatever, if you make somebody a better person, you've won. It all rolls down from there. And even if they leave you, that's the other thing that I think people get upset with, that people leave you for promotions. I just think that means you're running a great organization. That's like in college football, the great program have their players leave after 3 years because they highlighted them and they developed them into the NFL and they had healthy competition. And some people didn't make it from that, and some people were upset, but that's not really on you at that point. That's really on them. And I think you got to live those virtues. And you know, what you were talking about earlier about leadership is, and how you pointed out, a lot of great leaders understood in themselves what it was and how when they were younger, so they can relate, and that's where they can see it. They're really listening to it, but that's what they can see it. But you got to focus on the culture every day. That's literally one of my job responsibilities every day. Thinking on how can I improve the vision, because vision's strategy, you can call it either way, and what can I do to improve the culture. And sometimes you got to let go of people, you know, if somebody goes sideways, you know. And the other thing is culture can change in a matter of like that. And what I mean by that is, you know, there were things that we tolerated in the past that we don't tolerate anymore. And then some people have a hard time getting over that. Then you just have to say, look, this is a reset moment. If you're all in, great. If you're not, that's okay. You know, with a lot of our growth, you know, we've had a lot of people that left, and I don't think that was a bad thing. That was just,
it's not.
They wanted to go to smaller companies. They wanted to do different things. I'm not knocking that. And look, we're not large, we're medium, but you know, we have a vision that we can keep growing it. We feel like we bring something unique to the table when it comes to personal development and really growing the people. Because, you know, the way we built this organization, you know, I was not blessed with, you know, rich parents. It was the old school fundamental, you know, grind it while you're in here. So we went with more of the special forces approach. How do I get more out of my people instead of just getting more people? So
back to your point on that, when, you know, I was in my 20s, I was working at a call center doing sales, you know, top sales guy, you know, killing it, enjoying life. But then my boss came to me and said, Mitch, you know, I love you. You're doing great. He said, but you do realize this is just a job, right? This isn't a career. You know, you could be the best ever here, but you're never going to make a lot of money doing it. You know, he's like, this is just a stepping stone. So, you know, eventually you got to get the stepping, you know, and, you know, that's to your point where, yeah, it's tough to see people go, but he's the one that pushed me to make my next move. And
but that's a good leader.
Right.
That's someone that actually cares about you and
Right.
has listened and has looked out for you, because you're right. Sometimes in life, people get complacent. They're like, hey, this was great for a few years. And hey, I could do this with my eyes closed. I don't even have to challenge myself to do the next step. But it's up to us to continue to push people along. And sometimes that's them moving on to their next venture, which we congratulate them. You know, that's fine. That means we prepared them. That means that we did a great job of lifting them up so that they could fly. And there's it's like being a parent, right? We have to let our children fly.
Right. And I took that very seriously. And within 2 months, I had started a new career. So, you know, and yeah, probably it took him to do it. You know, I could have been there 5 more years just enjoying being the big fish in the small pond rather than, you know, moving on. So that's a great point, Eddie. It's okay to let people go if they're moving up and trying to find something better for themselves and their families.
Or they think it's a better fit all of a sudden, you know, like anybody else. And, you know, you've grown an organization, Laura, you see people that got you to a certain point,
right?
And then you had to go to the next level. It's very similar in sports where you see, okay, they got to the next level, they got to this level, but to get to that next level, we got to go here. Some people don't want to do that. They just don't. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you have a bad culture. You know, too many people focus on culture on turnover ratio, but that's if you're hiring, firing all the time, and then people are just like, oh my God, that place is awful. But you would see it nowadays on your Glassdoor ratings all over the place. So a lot of times people just got to move on. Or unfortunately, it's the hard part of growth when you're holding people accountable. They just do not buy into the new culture, and you've got to wish them, you know, the best of luck. And that's just a part of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, when I was growing our organization, and still to this point, one of my team members that's been with me for a long time, she equates our company like a child growing up. And a lot of times she'll say to me, Laura, when we were an infant, and then when we were a toddler, and then and it's like that, Eddie, right? Like you're going through these different cycles, and during these cycles, things are changing all around us. And we have to look at it as it's just another phase. And at some point, some people need to come and go, and we need to make changes, and that's healthy. That is a great organization that you are continuing to challenge to move forward. So that's awesome. Now, we know you've got lots of things going on in 2020 here, and you've got a whole restructure happening during the busiest time in the mortgage industry and during COVID. So what are some of the things that you learned during this past year? Because your organization certainly has gone through so much change, and I'm sure you have lots of great visions for 21 and beyond. But what are some of the things that you learned during this year? How long do we have, right?
I guess, I mean, what I can sum it up really well is embrace the conflict. I think a lot of times as leaders, we don't embrace conflict, and nothing will cause an organization to go down quicker or destroy great employees than leaving other ones that aren't, and that don't maybe believe in the vision. I think that's a problem that we had for a long time, and we started our transformation a little over 2 years ago. This year obviously revved it up, and like when I was talking to a lot of friends and some of the challenges we've had, you know, some people made suggestions, which what I would call basically is do a temporary retreat. And I go, well, if I do a temporary retreat right now, I'm never going to learn where my holes really are, because it's the backing off that's going to make things a lot easier. We've got to embrace that conflict and really bring on all those conversations, bring on those leaders, bring on that level of the behavioral drivers and the values that we run for the culture. So what I've said is, you know, there's a way to embrace conflict, but it's constantly got to be embraced so that you can show your virtues as an organization and who you really want to be. And it's okay to talk about your challenges. Humans, for the most part, there will be those that want to talk about the past or rub your nose in it today. But what I'll say to that is most people are pretty forgiving if they see constant levels of improvements and attacking it. They understand as much as they may not understand at that moment, because that's where emotional intelligence is very crucial. Just because they're heated at that moment, a lot of times they're not heated at you. So that's where I tell people, you know, you got to have an ability to kind of get over yourself. I think that's something you got to do. You know, at the end of the day, we all as humans share the same amount of time every day. So that is what makes us very unique with who we are with each other. And you got to understand that even if somebody is talking to you, let's just say not in the most favorable tone, they're giving you their time. So in other words, they're really telling you what you got to do. And sometimes you can't, and you got to be very candid about that. But always respect people's time, because if they didn't, they would just ghost you or go dark.
Yeah, you are correct. And you just said something very key that people need to realize. When people are communicating what they're not happy about, they still are invested in you. It's when they stop communicating with you that you have lost them.
Yes.
So you are correct. And I will tell you from, you know, the thing I love about the mortgage business is that our partners will tell us when something is not right. And they will share that not because they want to see us fail, but because they want to help us. And that is actually one of the blessings of our industry that I have seen.
There definitely is a good amount of, you know, we need more of it. There was a time that we haven't, but I think obviously COVID has definitely helped with a lot more of a unified front. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, a retail lender, a broker, a bank. During COVID, they came for all of us.
Yep.
So it's one of these. I tell people all the time, we're all baseball players. You may be in the American League, you may be in the National League, but at the end of the day, you know, life is a lot like baseball. You know, if you go 3 for 10, you're doing exceptional. And you got to understand sometimes things aren't going to go your way. It's the only reason I don't agree with that whole statement that life isn't fair. That makes it seem like you're going to go 10 for 10. You're not supposed to go 10 for 10. No. You would appreciate it. If life's like I said, baseball. You can hit the ball. You can have the greatest idea, but if it goes just a little bit sideways, just like a baseball, it goes foul. It doesn't really matter. So,
right.
I think a lot of that can bring you a lot of perspective. I mean, I think if you're going to talk about the one thing as a leader that's so crucial is perspective and understanding timing. And they may be mad at you at the moment, but what I have seen, they always come back and be like, you know what? I understand a little bit more now, la, la, la.
I agree.
So how many employees of yours use that analogy against you, Eddy? When they say, listen, man, I did my best. I mean, I can't hit 10 for 10.
You know, none of them have ever said that.
3 for 10 this week, Eddy.
Now, what I will tell you is, because we publish our behavioral drivers that we call our fundamentals, sometimes, you know, they try to word it to push an agenda, but like I say, that's on you as the leader to embrace that internal conflict and, you know, call BS as you see it. And more importantly, it's not just leading the way, not leading by example. What I mean is you got to really people show the way. You got to really say, let's go. Come on, let me.
Yes.
You know, it's not just, okay, I've shown up. I work a lot of hours. Yes, they know what you invested, what you did there. It's really about the transparency. I mean, that's one thing that I'm working on really heavily, because like I said, when I took that Big 5 personality test, I thought I was a pretty open guy, but I guess I wasn't, like in certain degrees. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I've really learned that when it comes to communication, there's no such thing as over communication.
Agree.
There's no such thing. So sometimes when you thought you were saying something, you really weren't. And I've even noticed that with my own children. So, you know, I definitely not only want to be a great leader for the organization, for the consumers, for this country, for this great industry, for what we do for so many millions of people every year. Just think about that and the trillions of dollars we move. But even as a parent, just so I can be a better father to my kids, like I don't want to mess up these things when I thought I showed that I cared or I did these things, and I just didn't do it to the level that I should have.
Well, I can say from looking from the outside in, you know, I've seen you in 2020, you know, lead in many different ways, you know, whether it's overcoming, you know, large obstacles with your business, helping others in the business, just donating your time and energy, different things. So that's one of the things that brought me to you, and following you. So I do have one question for you that maybe you can help others. What can people look for inside themselves to become a leader?
First of all, you got to have the desire. That you've got to want to, and you got to also understand it's not the paycheck. This is where a lot of confusion comes. Let me explain the confusion real good here. It's not the paycheck. It's not how many people report to me. And that's where I say that's where you got to become a leader because your worker IQ is real high. Well, then you got to understand you go down to EQ, so you're on the bottom. Mm-hmm. It's not the paycheck. It's not how many people you can direct. It's really about, do I want to do great things? Do I want to get other people to get to their maximum potential? I mean, the most selfish thing you can ever do in your life is make somebody else successful. So do you have that mindset? And then do you understand the price you have to pay? Like a lot of confusion, a lot of problems that happen out there is, and a lot of leaders that self-sabotage themselves is like, all right, I've made it. Like you were saying, Laura, get complacent. Yeah, dude, I can kick my, I can do this.
I can go play golf. Now I can go play some golf.
Yeah. What you realize is, you don't really have as much vacation time as you think. You accrue all this vacation time. All right, if you start using it, you're going to have some problems. You just are. I'm not saying don't take a vacation, but you got to understand, in anything great in life, you got to be willing to pay the price. And the greater that you want to be, you got to pay a bigger price. Some people want to do that, some do not. So to say the one thing and to embrace the internal conflict with yourself, and you can only do this. This is one thing that I was very fortunate at a young age to do, because my father told it to me. He said, look, every day when you get out of the shower and you fog the mirror off, that doesn't really exist too much these days because of technology, but I'm showing my age, but the truth looking in the mirror. Don't lie to yourself. Even if you may be lying to the outside world, or you're an honest liar where you don't know information, so you're ignorant. That's what makes you not realize it. Always live it, but you got to accept the price, and you cannot view it as, I've worked so hard, I shouldn't pay it. I'm going to tell you, the higher you rank up, the higher price you got to pay.
I like that.
He's correct. And being a leader, like Eddy just said it, the biggest gift that you could give is making someone else successful. So a leader mindset is literally putting other people before you. It's not about you. So you're correct. It's not the paycheck. It's not the title. It's not any of those things. It's because you care that much about others that you want to see them grow and be successful and be their best self.
And it really breaks down to just a final spiritual belief you have in yourself is, do you want to leave this world a better place? That's right. Really probably, if you want to go down to that one question,
agree,
yourself, that's the question. Do you want to leave it on your deathbed? Do you want to be the person on their deathbed that did not give birth to their thoughts and ideas because of fear? Mm-hmm. Or you said the heck with it,
no regret.
Yeah, no regret.
I have no regret.
Willing to pay the price. And look, I know a little bit about that this year. So, but you got to, you still got to keep things fun. And like I said, you got to get over yourself. You got to understand what you got to do.
And I think it's important for people who, maybe not know they want to be in leadership to experience it. There's got to be a place where people give them that opportunity. Like I said, maybe you're taking a vacation and you want to give somebody in your office your role for 2 days, or, somebody else's role when they're gone, that type of thing, because they may not know that they are built for that, but they find out after doing it. I never thought I wanted to coach sports, but, I coached my son's football team, and his baseball team. And I was like, man, this is fun. Like, I really enjoy being able to give, to those young kids and teach them. And that's something I would have never thought, someone asked me to do it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll try it, and it turned out great. And I loved it. So I think that's the key, is people need to experience it maybe and get an idea of what it feels like and see if it is inside of them.
No, I mean, you got to take the leap. I mean, that's for sure. You got to take the leap.
Yep. Awesome.
All right, Eddie, you got anything else you want to share with the audience today?
This has been powerful, Eddie. I will tell you that you can certainly tell that one of your fundamental concepts is self-awareness and improving each day. And kudos to you and what you're building in your organization. I'm confident that you have lots of success and greatness to come in, now and continued. So kudos to that, and great job with communicating that. And, I wish you all the best.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure always. And, thank you for this opportunity just to pay it forward. Obviously people trailblazed it for myself. I've got to trailblaze it for the people 20, 30 years from now.
How exciting is that, Eddie? Isn't that exciting?
I always feel like that's the ultimate feel good. That's the ultimate.
Agree.
Ultimate feel good.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, like I said, from watching you this year, about leadership. And that's why, I brought you on here, because I know you've led through a lot, and you've done a great job doing it. And with a smile on your face.
You want to laugh about that situation? That I was built for war. That I was the only one, though. I had plenty of people that told me how to act a certain way, and I told them, no, watch. I know what I'm doing. Just watch. This is, especially when you knew fundamentally the truth. That's always the most powerful part. Some people are going to rock the world. They're going to catch some stuff. It's okay. It doesn't mean that they're going to win. And you got to understand that.
And sometimes you need to learn those lessons so that you know who is going to stand next to you in war and who may not. So I think 2020 taught a lot of those lessons.
I have to say, honestly, that was very humbling. How many people came to the defense, how many people stood up, how many people did things that I would have never otherwise known.
Right.
Well, the key is it's easy to be a coach or a leader when things are good.
Yeah.
A true leader is shown when the times are bad.
That's correct.
And you see that a lot, like, in sports, where a guy takes over a team and the team's great and the recruiting's great and they're doing great. But then what happens when there's problems and, that coach isn't there 2 years later because he couldn't get back to where he started because of that. So, leading through, stuff like disasters and pandemics and, all that is definitely showing,
Fox News.
Real leader.
Fox News.
Fox News.
This lunatic saying, we need martial law. Yeah, that's all. Because that's the attorney I'm dealing with. So
Bring it on. I've got it, right?
Well, you proved your worth in that. So bring it on. Like I said, bring it on.
I always fair warn people, like, I'm a pretty kind guy. Don't cross the line. And I don't mean that as a threat. I'm not somebody that once the line's crossed, oh, I'm sorry. No, then it's done. I have just like baseball, 3 strikes and you're out rule. After that, I'm not going to be too kind. Because at that point, you're just trying to be a bully and an a-hole. So
right. Yeah, everybody's got to have the line. Everybody's got to have their, 3-strike rule. People deserve second chances. Most time, third chances sometimes. But after that, you're kind of running out of luck with anyone. I don't think it's just you. I think with anyone, you're going to run out of luck there.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
Eddie, this has been fabulous. All the best. Take care. Thanks for being a wonderful guest. Take care.